Hello, everybody. Dr. Joe here on this nice Wednesday evening. Hope all is well, and I hope you had a great week so far, and hopefully you have a great remainder of the week. So today we're going to talk about insurance. Insurance. Essentially what we're going to talk about is insurance essentials. I mean, insurance could be a whole another discussion by itself, but that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'll try to get to a decent level of detail, but not too much, and so on. So, yes, well, today, hey, I've got on the stickers. We're going to have an event on August 26th, which is Saturday, not this Saturday, the following Saturday. And it's going to be at one of my properties in Washington, D.C. It's a house where I bought many years ago, in fact, and I turned it from a 3-bedroom, 1-bath row house, and we turned that into a 6-bedroom, 4.5 bath. So from a 3-1 to a 6.5. So we're going to have an event at this particular property in Northwest DC. So looking forward to August 26th. We're going to talk about how I did that, talking a bit more detail about my burst strategy, how I consistently am able to get tenants, Section 8 tenants that stay 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And also you're giving an opportunity to ask me all the questions that you have. And you can also network with like-minded people who, just like you, are trying to strive for financial independence through real estate investing and so on. So that's the event on August 26th. So please check that out. And you can go to my website, www.joesmo.com, where you can get more information and you can register as well. So check that out, August 26th. And for this event that's going to take place there. Hope everyone's doing well. And let's get to it. So we're going to talk about insurance, as I said before. And insurance, I thought it's a good time to talk about that, given what's going on in Maui, given what's going on with global warming, given what's going on with weather and things like that. It's kind of hairy. So so I think it's really appropriate that you have the right insurance and so on. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Hold on a second. There's a way to add value. Okay, it is. Okay, so I don't know if there's something wrong with the connection. Hopefully you guys can see me and so on. So anyway, that's what we're going to talk about today and so on. So essentially, insurance, let me just get to that one. Insurance is like all things. Everyone complains about paying for it, and nobody wants to pay for it. But it's when something happens, it's you're kind of happy that you have it, and so on. So I mean, case in point, one of my properties, I got a call from one of my tenants. It's probably 2 or 3 months ago, and apparently a tree fell on the house in the middle of the night, and he's freaking out. And he called me up. I went there the next day, and he sent me some photographs. And I just picked up the phone, called the insurance company, and they sent an adjuster around, and we took care of it. It's a expensive repair, but I had insurance, and the insurance company was able to take care of it. Now, if I didn't have insurance, obviously I'll be out of pocket. And so, I'm paying these insurance premiums, I don't know, $100 a month or whatever it is. But I saved myself several $1,000s, by having the right policy in place. And I was covered during that incident. So, it's one of those things it's good to have. And especially if unforeseen events occur. So let's kind of talk about the different types of insurance that's available. And the first one is really the landlord insurance policy, which is the bedrock of the insurance as a landlord. Okay, as opposed to a homeowner's insurance. Homeowners insurance obviously are taking care of. The assumption is that you are living there as your primary residence, and a landlord insurance policy is on the assumption that you are renting to a tenant, and therefore it's not your primary residence. So if you have a homeowner's policy on the property, but you are renting it, and something happens, then you may not be covered. The claim may be denied because you have the wrong type of insurance. So it's important to make sure if you're renting the property is to have landlord insurance. Okay, so what's landlord insurance? What's that mean? As I said before, it deals with landlords. It's kind of catered to the unique situations that landlords deal with, the various risks that landlords have to operate under, and so on. So things like fire, vandalism, natural disasters, obviously that's protecting the property. So the landlord's insurance policy covers the property and any damages associated with the property. And also, it also covers what do they call it? Liability. If there's a slip and fall, the tenant, trips on the staircase, especially if they notify you and you didn't do anything about it, then there's some exposure that you have. So it covers liability, any legal claims that are going to be made against you through injury from the tenants. That's usually what's covered. And also, if you have the right, what we call rider on your policy, you may be able to get, you can have what I have on my policies, what they call loss of rental income coverage. So if there's a loss and there's the place is inhabitable, for example, then your policy, if you have that rider, loss of rental income, means that you can get your rent paid through the insurance company until the issue is being resolved. So that's the landlord's policy. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than that, but I'll just give you a high level. Another type of policy which you may want to consider is what we call umbrella insurance. Umbrella, most policies, whether it be your car, your homeowners, your rental policies, they have coverage up to a certain amount. Let's say 300,000, 400,000, whatever it is that you put on there. So if you have a coverage of, let's say, 300,000, and there's an accident that occurs, and the tenant wants to sue you for 500,000, for example, that's more than your policy coverage. So there's exposure there on your part. You may be exposed to that, the difference between your insurance policy and what you're being sued for. So the umbrella policy is what we call, it's like an excess policy. So that kicks in once the underlying insurance limits have been exceeded. So it's a good protection policy. I have it, and I know a lot of other investors have it. And so it's designed to provide you coverage in excess of the underlying insurance policy that you have. And we're kind of in a litigious society, and where people are suing each other for left, right, and center. So it's sometimes good to have, as an abundance of caution, the necessary umbrella policy in place. It's like a safety net in the event you are sued or you run into an accident, which is more than the underlying coverage of your policy. So that's that one. And that's the umbrella. And the next one is, let's have a look. I'll call it, I think I've kind of talked about property before. So let's talk about liability. Liability insurance, obviously, as I said before, people sue each other. And, you want to make sure that if you are sued, that you have the right coverage in place. So most landlords policies do have that, but some people decide to get more. And but the idea is that liability insurance is really there to protect you in the event of any injuries, legal threats, illegal exposure, damages that you caused. You know, and it's quite important, and it's good to have. Again, it's designed to mitigate your legal and financial risk and exposure. I recall many years ago when I first, well, no, maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I had a property where a tenant, what's it called? It was a lead-based paint scenario, and she moved into the property. She was in there about a couple of months, and then suddenly, you know, she wanted to sue me for high elevated lead level, and that couldn't be me. But what we found out later on was that the issue was not because of me. The issue is where she lived before, and she lived in a place which was abandoned, and her child had an elevated blood level based on there. But I was dragged into this whole mess. She got one of those "you got a phone, you got a lawyer" kind of guys. So I was dragged into it. In the end, I was released or dismissed from the case because you know, the issue really wasn't from me; it was from somewhere else. But I had insurance. My insurance policy covered. I had liability insurance, and they took care of the legal expenses, the attorneys, and all that stuff that took place. So again, if I didn't, then I would have had to pay for an attorney. I would have, you know, and had to go through the whole case and so on. So we had a really good insurance coverage, and the attorney that was representing me was able to get me dismissed from the case. So again, liability is good to have. The next one is flood insurance, and this is really good if you are living or if you live in a you know, an area that's prone to flooding. You know, I know where my properties are, the DC area, we don't really have too many floods compared to other parts of the country. And so I think most of them, in fact, all of the properties that I own are not in what we call flood plains. So it's not required that I get flood insurance. Okay, but if your property is in a floodplain or in an area that's prone to flooding, then you know, it's a good idea to get it. I don't know if it's required. I know it's underwritten by the federal government, but I don't know if it's a requirement in order to get a mortgage if your property is in a flood zone. But anyway, it covers water-based damage, floods, and you know, it's really useful in extreme situations like after hurricanes, after severe thunderstorm effects and severe flooding areas and so on. You know, because water can be very devastating to properties, and so having flood insurance, especially if you're in a known flood zone, I think it's useful to you know, to have. So again, you know, put your questions in the what do you call it, in the chat box, and I'm going to get to you very shortly. And if you have any questions, put them down there in the chat box. And also, I'll mention that we will be having an event August the 26th. Really looking forward to that one. It's going to be a really good one. Between 11 and 1. At one of my properties in Washington, D.C., Northwest D.C., where we transformed a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house into a 6-bedroom, 4.5-bath home. Beautiful home. And so you can come in, look it out, check it out, do a tour of the property. I'll kind of walk through how I did it. You know, the lessons learned, the good, the bad, the ugly. Talk about the strategy, the burst strategy, which I use, which you're familiar with what I do. With a Section 8 twist. I've owned this property for about 25 years, I think it is. And, you know, most of the tenants that have stayed there have been there a long time. And so it's going to be a great educational opportunity. I'll go into quite a bit of detail. I'll answer all the questions that you have that pertain to real estate investing. And you can sort of pick my brain and, you know, all the questions that you wanted to ask but were scared to ask, this is the place to be. And also, you can network with like-minded real estate investors like yourself. The last one we did about a couple of months ago went very, very well. And as a result of that, I decided to have another one at another property which I own here in Northwest DC. So again, you can go to my website, www.joeasimo.com, to sign up and register for the event, which is going to take place August 26th, a week on Saturday. Okay, so let's get back to it. The next one is, let's have a look. There's one called rent guarantee insurance. I don't. It was kind of novel. I've never heard of it until I was doing preparing for this this live stream. But there's a rent. You can get rent guarantee insurance. This is really useful for people who depend on regular rent, consistent, reliable rent. And so if there's, for whatever reason, the tenant can't pay you or doesn't want to pay you, my understanding is that this kind of rent policy, this insurance policy kicks in and provides you with that the rent payment. Now, in terms of what it takes to get the money, I'm not too sure because I don't have it. But in doing the research for this live stream, I'm definitely going to explore that in more detail because obviously, I like cash flow. I do Section 8, so it's pretty much guaranteed rent anyway. But this could be something that may be worthwhile to explore further. Again, I'm not too familiar with it. I don't have any of those policies, but I can see how it could be very attractive if you especially if you don't have Section 8 tenants, where you don't have that guaranteed income, and if you depend on your income stream for your livelihood. Next one is what we call builder's risk insurance. This kind of policy is used primarily for vacant homes or properties that are being renovated or developed from scratch, and new construction and things like that. So whenever I buy a house and I renovate the house, there's a period of time where the rehab is taking place. There's a period of time where there's nobody in the house. There's a period of time where the place is vacant. Okay, I don't have a tenant yet. So the builder's risk is a kind of policy that covers this kind of situation where a house is being renovated or developed for a period, for a certain period of time. So I always get builder's risk policy, and also typically put insurance, liability insurance on top of that as well. So it's very common with contractors, developers, and to have this type of insurance, and it really covers you during that construction phase until the place is occupied. Okay, so there are risks, obviously, having a vacant property during the rehab, and this is the policy that you should have in place that will protect you during that renovation phase of the project. Next one is a vacant property insurance. If your property has been vacant for a long time, your landlord's policy or your homeowner's policy may not cover it because I think, if my understanding right, I think you got 30 days, between where the place can be vacant and your policy covers. But anything in excess of that, there's some potential light exposure. So you can get what we call vacant property insurance, which will protect you during that interim period. And it covers things like, because when the property is vacant, there's a higher prone to vandalism. There's risk in terms of damages, and also you could have the issue, especially what I hear in the news these days, a lot about what we call squatters, people moving in and trying to take over your property. So protecting yourself during that period is where the vacant property insurance comes in. Okay, so that's something you may want to consider. Next one is title insurance. Title insurance is obviously, as the title says, it's designed to protect you, to make sure if there's a claim against your title, the property that you own, if you're buying a house, most of the time the mortgage company requires that you have title insurance, and it's designed to protect you against disputes against the title, proper ownership. You can have a house, and then one day someone shows up and say, hey, this is my house. And that's where title insurance kicks in. You'll contact the title insurance carrier, and they will then take over and try to resolve the issue, whatever that may be. So title insurance is another common one that investors have. And finally, I wanted to add in there, insurance can be quite complicated. And so the whole topic can be very complicated. So it's really good to seek professional guidance to make sure you have the right coverage. And there are people out here, insurance agents, that's their job, is to understand what your needs are, and they will be able to help you to make sure that you have the right coverage, the right policies to take care of the situation if and when they occur. They kind of help you navigate the minefield, prevent you from getting sort of overwhelmed. And so I recommend that you contact a local agent, or a national agent who can work with you to understand your insurance needs and hopefully come up with different policies that will, give you the adequate peace of mind, and so on. So these people provide invaluable guidance, really, because they know their business and they know what's out there and how much things cost. And therefore, hopefully, they can steer you in the right direction to make sure that your property is adequately insured. And then finally, it can be a very difficult topic, a complicated topic, the whole area of insurance. I wanted to cover it because I haven't done it before, and give you the most common types of insurance policies that real estate investors and landlords have. We have landlord insurance, we have umbrella insurance, we have property insurance, got liability insurance, there's title insurance, there's another one, it's called tenant insurance. This is from the tenant's purchase, and so if something goes wrong, or if there's an accident, then it goes against the tenant's insurance policy. Doesn't usually cost that much, but I normally require my tenants to have that. So it's a great topic. I obviously I could go into this in a lot more detail, but because of the nature of this live stream, I want to kind of keep it high level. But I do recommend that you seek additional guidance, speak to other professionals who you can work with, and to kind of navigate this complicated, landscape as it pertains to insurance. But yeah, insurance, nobody wants to pay for it, but hey, it's good to have when something goes wrong. So with that said and done, my friend, we're going to go to Q&A in a second. So put your questions in the chat box, and I'll try to answer them for you. And but before that, I want to talk about the event that we're going to be doing August the 26th, as you can see from this ticker pile. It's going to be at one of my properties in Washington, D.C., Northwest D.C. It's a property which I've owned for 20-something years. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath when I first bought it. Now it's a 6-bedroom, 4.5 bath. And it's a nice house, nice location. And we're going to talk about that property. You'll get a chance to do a tour of it. You'll get a chance to understand the BRRRR strategy, which I implement, and how I'm able to make it work for me with using Section 8 tenants, how to attract quality tenants, how to screen them, how to manage the tenant relationships once they're in. We're going to cover all that. And you can kind of pick my brain over the 30 years worth of experience. And also you'll be able to ask me all the questions that you have pertaining to real estate investing. And then finally, you'll be able to network with other like-minded investors, just like yourself, who are pursuing their real estate investment journey towards financial independence. So that's what we're going to cover on August 26th, 11 a.m. And between 11 and 1, you can register at my website, www.joeasimo.com. It's on the ticker. And definitely look forward to seeing you. It's limited spacing. I think it's going to be a success. I think it is a paid event. It's a nominal fee. But I think it's going to be 5-10 times worth the cost of the event as well. It's a very reasonable price. And I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you there. So with that said, let's go to the comments or the chat box and see what's in there. Okay, let's have a look. So let's have a look. Hector, that is the way to add value. Sure is. Audio and video are perfect. Okay, good. Thank you. So hopefully you guys can hear me. Dow, greetings, Dr. Joe. Hi, Dow. How you doing? Normally you ask me a boatload of questions. Let's see what you got for me today. Hi, Joe. We have never actually talked, but I consider you a mentor. I've learned a lot with all of the content you provide that you put out. It's extremely valuable. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Isaiah. I appreciate your kind words. And yeah, just keep me, I don't know where you're based, Isaiah, but if you're in the DC area, please see if you can come up to my event on August 26th. Definitely look forward to, saying hello to you. And there'll be some refreshments there as well, and so on. So Umbrella, this is from Hector. Umbrella is going to be one policy for all your properties. Yeah, it's one policy, and it covers. It depends how your properties are titled. If they're all titled in one entity, then you can have these commercial umbrellas, or you can have these residential umbrellas. So if you have a residential umbrella, it's over your personal properties and properties that's owned in your name. And commercial umbrellas are those ones that are owned in different entities. So they cover multiple properties, yes. And so one policy can cover multiple properties, and depending on how you structure it, and so on. So yes, that's what we did. Also, it covers your car, and if it's a personal policy, and covers your car and a few other bits and pieces. But yeah, I have it, and I do highly recommend that you get it as well. You may have covered this, but do you protect yourself with the LLC, or do you have an umbrella? Thanks. Both. So some properties I own in LLCs, and for those ones in LLCs, the LLC has its own coverage, and not coverage, sorry. What's the right word? Has its own sort of liability protections, and that's the LLC, and then the umbrella is what's it called? Is on top of the insurance. So you have to have insurance, underlying insurance, in order to have an umbrella insurance. Okay, so if you have a car, you can't just say, I don't want to get car insurance, I'm just going to get an umbrella. No, you got to get car insurance first, and then the umbrella goes above the car insurance. If you have got a property, you got to have the property insurance first, and then the umbrella goes on top of that. It's an umbrella over that. Okay, so you've got to have underlying insurance first, and then the umbrella kicks in if the underlying insurance limits are exceeded. Hope that helps. Okay, let's have a look. How long did it take you to leave your full-time job with Section 8 strategy? Buying in B neighborhoods is costly, especially with 20% back finance. Yes, it is expensive. It took me probably 15 to 20 years, I think, from when I bought my first house to when I actually left. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a Dr. Joe guiding me. I didn't have a live stream that I could listen to. I just kind of figured this thing out myself. But looking back now, I could probably do it faster. Yes, properties are more expensive today than they were 20, 25, 30 years ago. Yes. B properties are more expensive. Yes. When I first started, they were a little bit cheaper, but the rents were cheaper as well. So what I realized, though, is that it depends what kind of market you're in. I'm in an appreciating market where prices tend to go up over time. So, if you don't buy, prices generally don't go down. They fluctuate through cycles, but the overall trend is usually up. So, if you don't buy today, 5 years from now, you'll be regretting that you didn't buy. So the issue is, how do you buy? And how do you may not cash flow immediately. So to answer your question, Isaiah, you probably will not cash flow if you buy in B neighborhoods. And when I first started, I wasn't cash flowing also, but I had a job, and the job provided for my living expenses. So I wasn't relying on the cash flow from the properties to live off, to pay my electric bill, to pay for my car note and things like that. I wasn't reliant on my properties. I had another income stream through my job. So that's essentially what the reality is that you're not going to be able to quit your job. If you're cash flowing 200, 300 bucks a month, it's not possible. But over time, the property increases in value. Over time, the rent increases. Over time, the equity builds up, so you can then refinance, or you can get a home equity line of credit. And I mean, there are things that you can do over time, and that's what this strategy is all about. It's the assumption is that over time you'll be able to leverage the power of real estate, but you've got to own the real estate, and otherwise you'll be on the sidelines wishing that you bought something but not actually buying anything, and prices keep on going up, and then you regret, oh my goodness, if only I bought then. It is what it is. I don't control these are market forces. And when I first bought my first house, it was like $49,000 or something, and people were saying I was getting ripped off. I was paying too much. 10 years later, the house on that same block at 150,000. 10 years, I was still paying too much according to these folks. 10 years later, it's worth 350. Oh, it's too much. Now it's 800,000. Oh, it's too much. It's always too much. That's just the way it is in these appreciating markets. So you just have to figure out how to get it in, and you may have to go to private lenders, leverage some of those sources in order to get some money. If you're unable to get the 20% by yourself, there's some creative strategies that you can use in order to get going if you don't have all the monies together. So maybe I could talk about that in another session. I have a toilet question. Oh my goodness, what's the toilet issue? Let's have a look. When there's a toilet issue in one of your properties, do you just replace the toilet, or do you have the toilet fixed? I normally just replace. It depends what the problem is. If it's something simple like a flapper, then I wouldn't replace the whole toilet. You can just change the flapper for $5, or the what do you call it, fluid master inside the toilet. That could be the issue. It depends what the nature of the problem is, and if it's a major problem, obviously you may want to replace the toilet. But for the most part, I don't replace my toilets just because something's wrong, because there's an issue. I usually get my handyman to go by, stop by, and figure out what's going on, and then hopefully try to address the issue from that point forward. Okay, Isaiah again. What's your opinion on those utilizing the Section 8 strategy in the Midwest, Southeast, buying less than $100,000 homes in low-income neighborhoods for high cash-on-cash return? Are you against this strategy? No, not necessarily. The good thing about the Midwest, Southeast, some parts is that prices are very reasonable. As you just say, less than 100K. And because the price is lower, your mortgages are lower, and therefore you're more likely to cash flow versus more expensive area like we're in, and where you are not going to get too much cash flow, but you're probably going to get appreciation. So there's nothing wrong with that cash flow strategy. In my humble opinion, the real money in real estate is through appreciation. I mean, it's nice to make a few $100 cash flow every month on a property, but to me, I think the real money is the appreciation. Buying this house today, waiting 5-10 years, and it's gone up by 20, 30, 40, 50%. And then you can tap into that equity, get a home equity line of credit, and use that line of credit to buy more properties. So, but you can do that in appreciating markets. You can't do that in markets where prices just don't go up. But again, each person is different. You can make it work. But one thing I would caution though is buying properties in neighborhoods that aren't that attractive, war zones and kind of problem areas. The reason being, yes, you can buy it cheap, but you're probably going to, have problems that come with that in terms of the quality of the tenant, the ability to attract quality tenants, and otherwise you're going to get people who, may not take care of the property, or you're going to get people who, it's just going to give you drama. So again, I'm not stereotyping, but I'm just saying that I started in buying cheap houses, but I now decide that it's just better to get better quality houses in better quality neighborhoods. Yes, you pay a little bit more, but it's easier to rent. It tends to appreciate more in value, and you tend to have more or less headaches, and so on. Okay, so we'll keep going. Hello, Dr. Joe. So wealth and wellness with Grace. Hello, Grace. I hope you're doing well. If the water pipe bursts, isn't the hazard insurance responsible for covering the water damage, or is it a flood insurance? I think it's your policy, your hazard insurance. Flood insurance is usually, I think, my understanding, because I don't live in flood zones, is when it's like from hurricanes or those kind of natural disasters, as opposed to a burst pipe. If it's a burst pipe, then it could be covered by your regular landlord policy. Again, you have to check the fine print, but it's my understanding the flood insurance will not cover a burst pipe. I'm in Tampa, but I will definitely fly out to DC to meet you. Oh, wow. Come on down. I'm going to be there August 26th at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. At my property here in DC. And if you can make it, anybody, you can pick my brains to all your heart's desire. And it'll be a chance for us to network, meet each other, break bread, and get some real quality education as well. I am late. Can someone tell me if he mentioned his networking event? Okay, it's on the ticker throughout this whole program. If you look on the scrolling ticker, it's August 26th, 11 to 1. You can register at my website, www.joeasimo.com. We're going to talk about, it's going to be at my property in Washington, D.C., in Northwest D.C. I've owned it for 20-something years. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath when I first bought it. It's now a 6-bedroom, 4.5-bath. Beautiful house, great neighborhood. And I think I bought it for $110,000 when I bought it. Houses in that neighborhood now are going for, I don't know, $800,000-900,000, I think. So, if I didn't buy it then, I'd be regretting it now. That's the same thing. It's at the time I thought 110 was a lot of money, but looking back now, I wish I bought 100 of those properties at that price. And and that's my concern when people say, "Well, I'll just wait." It's not going to get too much cheaper. So. Anyway, we're going to get more detail about this during the networking session on August 26th between 11 and 1. At DC, it's on the ticker. He did mention it. Yep, it's on the ticker. It's on the ticker. Yes, it's on the ticker. Okay. Okay. DCC. Dr. Joe, how do you determine that a place in a bad area is actually a path to gentrification? Give us your top 3 tells, even outside of the DMV. Okay, so how would I know if this property in this is in the path of gentrification? If I don't know this area, the first thing I will do would be to reach out to people who do know the area. There'll be real estate agents, there'll be property managers, there'll be appraisers in that area, wherever it is. Okay, so I don't know this area, and I'll speak to real estate agents, appraisers, and property management companies who can give me some insights as to the area, because they know the area, they live there, and they know what's going on. They know the trends. Now, some cities, gentrification runs from west to east, or east to west, or north to south, or south to north. Okay, it just depends on your area or your zip code. So these folks will be able to tell you, 10 years ago, this area wasn't that hot, but now it is. Okay. Where do you see the path of growth? Which direction is it going? So they can give you those insights if you're new to the area. Okay. So that's number one. I'll definitely reach out to people who are more knowledgeable. I know in the Washington, D.C. area, I can talk to that. The DMV, as they call it, it's a lot to do with transportation. And, we have a subway system. And a lot of the times the path of growth is very closely linked to the subway system. And so if you follow that subway, over time, the path of growth will follow. So that's just one idea, one situation. But again, it depends on where you are, and each market is slightly different. So hopefully I answered that question, DCC. So I'll speak to local people who will tell you. And again, a bad area doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stay bad. There are parts of Washington, D.C., which 10 years ago, you'd wonder who the hell want to live there. But now it's been gentrified. You can't even buy there now. It's too late. It's too expensive. I was in London a month or so ago. There was areas in London where I thought, when I was growing up there, it was like, wow, who wants to live there? But now it's been completely transformed. And it's in, you can't buy there. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars to buy houses in these areas where 10, 20 years ago, you couldn't give them away, and so on. So do you own properties east of the river? Yes, I do. I own properties in all four quadrants, the three quadrants in DC, in northwest, northeast, and southeast. I don't own anything in southwest DC. That's the smallest part of DC. I also own properties in Montgomery County and Prince George's County on the Maryland side. I don't own anything in Virginia at this time. So so anyway, what's the time? 7:43. I think we're good. So again, hopefully today was a good session for you. And again, I have an event on August the 26th between 11 and 1 p.m. We're going to be at one of my houses in Washington, D.C. It's going to be a great time. I really, really look forward to seeing you there. It is a paid event, full disclosure, but the price is reasonable. But the information you're going to get and the opportunity to network with other people, I think, is going to be 4, 5, 10 times what you're going to pay. And it was when I bought it, a 3-bedroom, 1-bath home. It's now transformed to a 6-bedroom, 4.5 bath. You're going to learn my strategy, how I do this stuff, how I do the burst strategy with a Section 8 twist. How I attract tenants. Top tier tenants, what I call tier 1 tenants. How do I do that? How do I attract them, screen them, manage that relationship once they're in my properties? And hopefully you can pick my brain so you don't make what I call unnecessary mistakes. I made all the mistakes that you need to make in the past 30 years. You don't need to make any more. So pick my brain and ask me all your real estate related questions. And also you'll be able to network with what I call like-minded people just like you, who are trying to pursue their real estate investing goals on their path to financial independence. So with that said and done, my friends, I'm going to wrap it up for the day, and I will see you next Wednesday. But please sign up and register at the link below. Go to my website, joeassimo.com, www. And it's $49, and that's how much it costs. I think Eventbrite tax on a couple of dollars as their fee, but it's $49 is the entry. Again, it's very reasonable. There's going to be some refreshments. I'm not trying to gouge people, but I don't want to make it free because I think that if you see the value, then you're more likely to pay, and you're more likely to digest and utilize the information rather than just having it free. The last one I did was free, but I'm kind of going away from the free models because I want to deal with serious people. If you're going to pay, that means that you got some skin in the game, and and I think the price $49 is not really a lot in these days. And but my goal is that you will make 10 times that fee, just in terms of the information shared, the networking opportunities, and so on. You're speaking the truth. Thank you, Dr. Joe. Okay, that's from Dow too. So, okay, my friends, I will see you next Wednesday, and hopefully I'll see you the following Saturday, August 26th. So don't forget to register, www.joeassimo.com on the website. Thanks a lot. Take care, guys. Bye.